Revealed, 3 haunted janitor horror stories that expose sinister secrets and unexplained fates. Tom, a weary 45-year-old janitor, shuffled through the crumbling halls of Woodrow Wilson High School, a place long past its glory days. The flickering fluorescent lights cast sinister shadows over the empty lockers, where laughter once thrived. Now, only silence echoed, thick with isolation and despair. As he donned his faded blue jumpsuit and grasped the worn mop, memories flooded back. Joyful students, vibrant hallways, now ghosts lingering in the dense fog of forgotten dreams. The abandoned suburb of Detroit felt like a cursed landscape, with foreclosure signs plastered on houses, and boarded-up shops lining the streets. Tonight was different. A chill seeped in, prickling Tom's skin as he moved through the hall. Quiet rustles danced in the corners, paper ghosts whispering secrets he couldn't quite catch. His heartbeat quickened with every step. Just as he began to wonder if he was the only soul left in this decaying structure, a loud crash shattered the tense stillness, sparking icy dread within him. The source was from the 3rd floor, an area the administration had all but declared a haunting ground for remnants of a dark past. Clutching his flashlight, the beam sliced through the murky darkness, revealing rows of classroom doors that loomed like sentinels in the night. Urban legends told of ghostly apparitions, particularly the spirit of Lena, a girl who vanished from these very halls, her laughter now a faint echo, and her memory trapped in the walls. Was it mere folklore, or was there a truth lurking in the shadows? He hesitated, heart racing, mind wrestling with dread and curiosity. What twisted history lay behind those doors? With a deep breath, he forced himself to ascend the staircase, each creaking step amplifying the fear clawing at his throat. As he reached the 3rd floor, the air grew heavy, an invisible weight pressing down on him. He pushed open the door to a janitor's closet, eyes widening as he discovered a hidden compartment behind an old vacuum. A chill wrapped around him as he pulled notebooks filled with frantic scribbles and haunting sketches from the space. The desperate words spoke of betrayal and inexplicable rituals, the same students he once watched roam the halls now trapped in a cycle of fear and darkness. Was Lena a part of this? Panic surged through him, his breaths coming in quick bursts. Had he unknowingly become a keeper of these sinister secrets? Before he could process the gravity of what he found, footsteps echoed in the hallway, slow and deliberate, cutting through the suffocating silence. He spun around, flashlight quivering in his grasp. He was not alone. The oppressive atmosphere thickened, a palpable dread curling around him like smoke. The sound intensified, each step resonating in his chest like a warning drumming in his ears. Had he opened doors that should have remained locked? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The footsteps grew louder, then paused, as if an unseen entity was evaluating him from the darkness. Sweat trickled down his back, electricity crackling around him. The weight of unseen eyes pressed down, each glance a threat that forced him to ponder if he ignited a danger he could never extinguish. The air turned frigid, stifling, as if the very spirit of the school was awakening, hungry for revelation. Was he about to face the horrors engulfing Woodrow Wilson High? Or would he become another lost soul entwined in its haunted story? He gritted his teeth, readying himself to confront whatever lurked in the shadows, the truth waiting to be unearthed or perhaps better left buried. The silence stretched, a taut string ready to snap. Tom's heart thumped in his ears as he dared to take a step closer to the door. Then, he froze. An almost imperceptible sound slipped through the darkness, a soft, sobbing whisper, familiar yet foreign. It dripped through the silence like cold rain, sending chills racing up his arms. Was it Lena? He swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat. Memories of the ghost stories wrapped around him, squeezing tighter, mixing with his own fears. He cursed under his breath but felt an inexplicable pull toward the noise, as if it were beckoning him into the abyss. Meanwhile, the footsteps resumed, slow and deliberate, like the ticking of a clock counting down the moments until something dreadful happened. "Show yourself," he shouted, voice shaking. The echo returned, bouncing around him with mocking laughter. He was alone. Or was he? The flashlight faltered, the beam flickered wildly as if losing power. In that fleeting darkness, shadows writhed along the walls. Panic surged through him. Distant memories flashed a glinting knife, quiet laughter in the cafeteria, the bathroom door swinging shut on its own. What had he stumbled upon? What kind of rituals had the students performed? He turned the flashlight back on, breathing heavily, the air cold and stale. The beam illuminated a doorway at the end of the hall, one he had never noticed before. It was slightly ajar, just enough to tease his curiosity. Was the sobbing coming from there? Could it be Lena? Tom felt as if his bones had turned to lead. Every instinct screamed to turn and run, to leave this cursed place and never look back. But his curiosity fought against his fear. Each labored breath filled him with a mixture of adrenaline and dread. With shaky hands, he pushed the door open. Inside, a long-abandoned classroom lay draped in thick shadows. The walls bore remnants of peeling paint and faded posters, still clinging to the memories of lessons long forgotten. In the center of the room stood an old wooden desk, covered in dust and cobwebs. But it was not the disarray that caught his attention, it was the small figure hunched over the desk, a silhouette illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the grimy windows. "Lena," he whispered, voice brittle. The figure twitched but did not respond, only continued to rock back and forth, overwhelming sobs echoing off the walls. Tom crossed the threshold, heart hammering fiercely against his ribs. The room felt thick, oppressive. As he approached, a flicker of recognition broke through the haze of fear. It was not Lena, but a girl wearing an old cheerleader uniform, tattered and yellowed with age. She looked up, eyes glimmering with a trapped sadness that turned Tom's stomach. "Help me," she rasped, voice like crushed glass. "They took my friends, they won't let me go." Fear twisted sharply in his gut. She was one of them, a lost soul trapped in a never-ending nightmare. The cold realization sank into him, what if he was here to join that dark legacy? Suddenly, the classroom door slammed shut behind him with a deafening bang. He turned, panic rising. Trapped. "Please, you have to help us," the girl pleaded, standing now, desperation branding her features. Then he heard it again, not footsteps, but a low, echoing growl from the depths of the hallway. A deep rumble, familiar yet chilling, slithered through the air. Had he truly awakened what had been sleeping? Tom felt a cold sweat drenching his clothes. He was caught in a web woven tight from his own naive curiosity. The spirit of the school trembled with wrath. "What do you want?" he shouted. "Find the others," the girl whimpered, her voice fading. "Find them, before it's too late." The growl escalated into a furious roar, making the walls shudder. Tom clutched his flashlight, trembling. Terrified and desperate, he understood that his connection to the past was now a violent thread tied to his survival. As he turned back to the girl, she was gone, leaving only a whisper, the echoes of countless lost voices pleading in the gloom. Breathless, he wondered if courage or dread pushed him forward. Where were the others? Time was running out, and the heart of darkness within these walls was awakening. Tom took a deep breath, ready to plunge into whatever horrors awaited him. He moved toward the door, muscles tensed, knowing he could never turn back. Would he join the spirits haunting these halls, or could he unearth the truth that lay hidden beneath layers of whispers and shadows? The next chapter awaited. Clenching his breath, he stepped through the doorway. The moment he stepped through the doorway, a chill enveloped Tom like a suffocating shroud. The air felt charged, thick with the weight of history and unspeakable horrors. The hallway stretched before him, the darkness roiling in hungry anticipation. He was trapped, yes, but so was this place, caught in a cycle of despair he was only beginning to understand. He moved cautiously, flashlight beam dancing across the peeling walls, revealing fleeting images, cracked tiles, graffiti scrawled in frantic scrawls, remnants of lives once vibrant now muted by time. Echoes of laughter morphed into cries, haunting his mind as he pressed deeper into the shadows. Each step felt more like a descent into madness. Suddenly, he heard it. A faint sound, like footsteps echoing far behind him. He whipped around, heart racing, but found nothing, only emptiness peering back at him, mocking his fear. The growl still lingered at the back of his mind, a low rumble that vibrated through the ground, as if the school itself were alive and angry. "Find the others," the girl's voice echoed, weaving through his thoughts, wrapping tight around his resolve. Who were the others? What had happened to them? The hallway twisted, narrowing as if trying to constrict him further. The flashlight flickered, casting long shadows that warped into grotesque shapes. A flash of movement caught his eye, a flicker of a yellow skirt darting into a doorway. Heart pounding, dread pooling in his stomach, Tom followed. He entered a small storage room crammed with forgotten items, dusty brooms, broken chairs, piles of tattered papers, remnants of school plays and dreams long abandoned. The space felt electric, thrumming with a pulse he couldn't quite place. Then he saw it, a ragged cheer-leading pom-pom, its vibrant colors now a ghostly hue. The scent of mildew mixed with decay hung in the air. He felt it calling to him. He knelt and picked it up, fingertips brushing against the tattered fibers. A cold gust swept through the room, extinguishing his flashlight. Darkness swallowed him whole. Panic clawed at his throat. He fumbled for his phone, flicking on the screen just enough to illuminate a small circle of light. Tom, that voice again, soft as cotton but weighted with terror. He swung the light around. There, in the corner, shadows shifted, coalescing into a figure. It was her, the cheerleader girl. But there was something different about her now, her eyes wide, pleading, but blood trickled down her face, mixing with the tears. "Please, you need to leave," she rasped, her voice turning frantic. "They've awakened, and they want you." "What do you mean?" He stuttered, feeling the temperature drop, the air growing heavier. "Who wants me?" Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from beyond the door, sending vibrations through the wall. Tom jumped, heart racing wildly. He turned just in time to see the door slam shut, sealing him inside. The girl shrieked, hands flying to her head as if warding off a terrible vision. "Tom, you don't understand. They won't stop until they get you. Run." He turned back to her, desperation in his eyes. "I can't just leave you, run." Her scream echoed, morphing into an unholy wail. The darkness around him pulsed, as if something vast and hungry stirred just beyond reach. Tom gripped his phone tighter, the light flickering wildly, revealing a glint of silver at the back of the room, a mirror, warped and cracked. The growling returned, louder, reverberating off the walls all around him. "Tom!" The mirror, look into it. What could he possibly see? Frantic, he stumbled toward it, heart in his throat. As he approached, the light from his phone revealed shadowy figures swirling behind him, flickering in and out of view. A crowd of lost souls, trapped forever in dusk, reaching toward him with desperate hands. His breath caught. Nausea swept over him as he faced the mirror. And there, in the cracked reflection, he saw not just himself but leaning behind him a lurking shadow, its eyes glimmering like hungry coals. "Find them, Tom," the girl breathed behind him. "You're all in danger with a primal." Roar, the shadow lunged. Tom cried out and stumbled back, racing toward the door. Was it too late? What awaited him beyond? The truth hung thick in the air, heavier than the shadows that threatened to swallow him whole. "Find them!" She screamed one last time as the room began collapsing into darkness. But was there anyone left to find? He bolted toward the door, fueled by raw instinct and terror. As he flung it open, he stepped into an unfamiliar corridor. Too many paths, too many choices, but one was calling out, an electric hum pulsing through the air. What lay ahead awaited him. Would he discover the lost, or would he join their ranks, engulfed by the darkness that craved his very essence? The lurking shadow seemed to follow, breathing down his neck. He had to move. Time was running out again, and the hunt had begun. The corridor felt alive, a twisted labyrinth designed to ensnare him. Tom's breath quickened with each passing second, his heart thumping like a drum. He needed to make a choice, left or right. A bright flicker beckoned to the right, a glow pulsating through the gaps in the wall. Everything inside him screamed to follow it. As Tom darted down the corridor, he felt the temperature drop again, the chill wrapping around him like icy fingers. Muffled whispers swirled around him, snippets of conversations from voices long extinguished. He could almost make out what they were saying, words of warning, of sorrow. The deeper he went, the more the walls closed in, dark and oppressive. Every heartbeat seemed to echo louder, and every step felt like a countdown. He stumbled into a larger room, airy yet eerily silent. Old desks lined the walls, each one draped with dust, untouched for years. In the center, a single flickering fluorescent light hung from the ceiling, its intermittent buzz causing cold dread to coil in his gut. He glanced around, desperate for a clue, a sign. But all he found was an unsettling emptiness. That's when he heard it again, the growl, low and throaty, rumbling from somewhere within the darkness. Panic ignited his instincts as he turned to flee, his feet pounding against the worn floor. Suddenly, the flickering light went out. Darkness enveloped him, an intensity that clawed at his sanity. Stay calm," he muttered, but felt the whispers crescendo into sinister laughter. The corners of the room pulsed with an invisible force, surrounding him, pressing closer. Just ahead, he spied a doorway glowing faintly. It was his only option. He sprinted to it, yanking the door open. What he saw stopped him cold. The room was bright, almost inviting, in stark contrast to the hallways he had been navigating. Bright posters plastered the walls, photos of smiling faces, students of years past. Yet the smiles were wrong, twisted, as shadows lurked behind them, telling a story he didn't want to understand. "Tom!" A voice cried out, breaking the eerie silence. He turned to see a group huddling in the far corner, a collection of figures, their features blurred and shrouded. The cheerleader girl stood amongst them, her face twisted in anguish. "Don't get too close," she yelled, desperation punctuating her tone. "They're not what they seem." He froze. The air felt thick with danger, the space closing in as the figures began to shift. The warmth of the inviting room faded, leaving behind a bone-deep cold. The faces began to transform, morphing from friendly childhood memories into ghastly visages, mouths twisted in silent screams. "Run, you have to get out," she waved, panic suffusing her voice again. And then, the shadows moved. They swarmed toward Tom with a hunger that made his stomach turn. He stumbled backward into the hallway, heart racing, as the imitations of innocence took pursuit. The darkness behind him roared, a wall of fury that threatened to consume him in an instant. Tom knew there was no turning back, he had to find a way to escape, a path to salvation hidden somewhere in this hellish place. He bolted toward the nearest exit. A vision of a stairwell flickered in and out of focus. He raced to it, bursting through the door and bounding down steps, two at a time. Each thud echoed like a warning, urging him on as shadows clung to the corners of the walls, whispering secrets he dreaded to hear. He emerged into a vast underground space, a gymnasium, yet it felt wrong, the air charged as if it were watching him. Not far ahead, figures danced in the shadows, caught in a morbid game, but this was laughter, no joy rang in their movements. Tom stepped carefully into the room, squinting at the shapes that spun and twirled in an unending cycle of despair. Dread gripped him, and for a moment, he stood paralyzed, the sound of his own heart thundering in his ears, drowning out everything else. And then, as if sensing his presence, they stopped. One figure turned slowly, its face obscured, but he felt those eyes burning into him. "Welcome, Tom. We've been waiting," it whispered, a voice draped in shadows, chilling him to the bone. He spun around, desperate to flee, but the doorway had vanished, leaving only darkness closing in around him. What awaited him in this gym of horrors? The shadows held their breath, and so did he, caught in a web of unspeakable dread. Was this the end of his search, or the beginning of a nightmare far worse than he could imagine? A chilling silence blanketed the gymnasium as Tom's breath hitched in his throat. The shadows tightened around him, twisting and writhing, now taking on more defined forms. They loomed larger, their presence suffocating, as the air thickened with dread. He felt their hungry gazes on him, each one a dark promise of what awaited if he made a wrong move. "Tom," the figure whispered again, its voice oily and low. The edges of its form began to dissolve into a swirling void, blending into the darkness behind it. "Join us," heart pounding, Tom glanced back and forth, desperately searching for a way out. The echoes of laughter morphed into wails, sending icy tendrils of fear racing up his spine. He took a step back, only to feel a cold wall against his back. The doorway, his only chance, had vanished without a trace. Panic surged as the swirling figures advanced, monstrous smiles stretching across their ghastly features. "They want to play," announced another shadow, a dancer whose limbs bent at dangerous angles, grinning as though relishing Tom's fear. "Get away from me!" Tom shouted, but his voice sounded hollow, swallowed by the growing darkness. He stumbled sideways, the floor beneath him seemingly shifting as he dashed toward the edge of the gym. A terrible realization hit him: he was trapped in their warped reality, and the only way out might be to confront them. "Why are you doing this?" he yelled, forcing the words through clenched teeth. Their laughter responded, ringing hollow and mocking, a chorus from the depths of despair. The cheerleader's voice broke through the cacophony: "They don't want you, they want a game." Her figure flickered, fading in and out of perception like an old film reel. She was no longer a beacon of hope but a fragile echo of what once was. "Game?" he echoed, dread settling in his gut. "What kind of game?" "Life or death," the figure nearest him snarled, its teeth sharp and glimmering in the dim light. "One of us joins you or you join us." Without thinking, Tom lunged for the wall, his fingertips brushing the rough surface, desperately seeking a means to pull himself free. His breath came in rapid bursts, trembling hands searching for structure amidst chaos, a way to fight the darkness. Suddenly, he felt a pull, a strange yet familiar sensation. The corner of the room was vibrating, pulsating with an energy that felt both ancient and raw, like the heartbeat of the building itself. He turned toward the source, drawn instinctively, against his better judgment. "Don't let it seduce you." The cheerleader's frantic warning rang out, but the allure was overpowering. Tom could feel something in the pulsing energy shimmering like a promise, an escape, if only he could uncover it. The shadows noticed his shift in focus. Their growls morphed into furious screeches, the delightful game turning grim as they scrambled toward him, eager to reclaim their prize. "Join us!" they howled, a desperation creeping into their voices. "Why are you?" he thought, his mind racing, realization creeping in like a shadow. "What happened to you?" The ground rumbled beneath his feet, a low tremor that spoke of age-old horrors trapped just beneath the surface. Tom gritted his teeth, ready to confront what lay ahead. Before he could make sense of it all, the cheerleader leaped forward, her form flickering as she reached out towards him. "You have to give in," she begged. "You can't escape what's here. But you can save one." The choice hung heavy in the air, a moment of life balanced against a dark abyss. Could he trust her? Would choosing to save one of them mean sacrificing himself? With shadows closing in fast, Tom had no time to think. He took a breath, grounding himself. "Fine. I'll play your game," he shouted back defiantly as the weight of his decision settled. All or nothing, Tom, the dark figure warned, its eyes glinting like shards of broken glass. His choice loomed ahead, every moment steeped in terror. In this twisted gym of horrors, he understood, the game would soon begin, and with his next move, he'd either find a way out or fall deeper into their nightmare. But before he could fully grasp what lay ahead, the shadows surged forward, and the room began to distort around him. What had he just unleashed? And would it cost him everything? Tom's heart thundered in his chest as the shadows lunged forward, their sharp claws gliding through the shrinking space between them. He could see their eyes now, a cruel mix of excitement and hunger. Those were not mere shadows but tortured souls craving release through him. The dark figure closest to him, the one who initially extended the invitation, stepped forward with an eerie grace, the distance closing faster than he could process. Choose. It spat, the word curling around him like a noose. What's it going to be? You or us? With every passing moment, he felt his resolve wrestle against waves of despair. Musty air thickened around him, swirling with whispers. The cheerleader's flickering form melted into the shadows, her pleading eyes turning glassy. Tom. Listen. You have to make a choice. Anguish clawed at him. What do I have to do? He shouted, desperation spilling out. Sacrifice one. The dancer morphed into a twisted version of his friend from school, her limbs folding into unnatural angles, a body broken but still laughing. Or we get to feast. It was a grotesque game of survival, and Tom could feel the stakes steepening. The energy that pulsed from the forgotten corner called to him again. Its power flickered tantalizingly, and for a heartbeat, he thought he sensed a path through the nightmare. But then another shadow swung into his view, blocking him, revealing the grinning face of the basketball star who had once mocked him. You think you can outrun us? Whatever choice you make, you're ours. Frantic, Tom glanced around, his mind racing. To give in would mean losing not just himself but the parts of him that connected his memories, his laughter, his life. An idea struck, then faded as shadows lunged again, making his mind spiral. Then he remembered the pulsing energy. It felt alive, urging him to remember what kept him grounded. Each of those figures, lost and broken, had once been whole just like him. Perhaps it was better to save one, perhaps one life could tip the scales of despair, if he was willing to pay a price. I'll save you, he murmured, looking at the cheerleader. But not in the way they want. Tom! She screamed, her form flickering with urgency, a desperate plea beneath her still bright eyes. Don't be a fool. The darkness responded, a heavy rumble resounded like a battle cry as shadows surged at him, drawn by his decision. Spitting in rage, they became a whirlwind of claws and teeth, each one desperate to drag him down into their suffering. He felt their chill entering his skin burning in the fierce internal battle. Accept the game. They screeched in unison, a cacophony that shattered the world around him. Or face our wrath. In that moment, a split second of clarity surged through him, igniting a long-held flame of resistance. He had welcomed their game, but now he would not let it consume him. Squaring his shoulders, he locked eyes with the pulsating energy, bridling every ounce of fear. Then I choose no one. He declared, his voice echoing defiantly in the gym, its walls vibrating violently. The shadows recoiled as if his words hit them like physical blows. A flicker of chaos erupted, the pulsing energy responded accordingly, drawing darker shapes into its embrace, while light surged through the cracks of despair. Tom knew he was either about to dive deeper or break free entirely. But as the shadows hissed in fury, revealing twisted forms now circling him like sharks anticipating the kill, he braced for what came next. The ground beneath him quaked, straining against an unseen force, and a voice echoed within the chaos, your choice held within, but the horror has just begun. What had he truly unleashed? Would he ever escape the consequences of his rebellion, or would he be pulled into a new nightmare altogether? The shadows screeched as if his defiance lit a fire beneath their twisted forms. Tom could feel the ground shift, an unsettling rhythm matching the beat of his racing heart. The air was thick, clogged with despair and fury. He had made his choice, but it felt less like a triumph and more like a descent into a fresh abyss. "Do you think you can defy us?" The dark figure taunted, its voice a low growl wrapped in malice. The mocking laughter of the others intertwined in a chilling symphony, scraping against his psyche like nails on a chalkboard. "Your will only prolong your suffering." Another shadow screeched, lunging at him with maddening speed. Every instinct cried for him to run, to flee this nightmare, but the energy that had influenced his decision pulsed like a distant heartbeat, steady and unwavering. Before he could question it further, the ground heaved violently, a flat surface erupting into writhing tendrils of darkness. They reached for him, seeking to entrap him once more in their sick games. Desperation clawed at his throat. He needed to focus. Where had his courage come from? What lay beyond this relentless veil of pain? The shadows howled, a cacophony of rage enveloping him. Tom spun around toward the flickering energy that still glimmered beyond the darkness. It seemed to beckon, illuminating the choice he had made, an alternative path, shrouded in secrets and filled with promise. "Embrace the void, Tom," hissed a shadow resembling his friend. "There's nothing waiting for you but despair. Accept it." With his back against a wall of encroaching darkness, Tom took a deep breath. The energy glimmered again, lighting up the room in haunting flashes. Everything inside him screamed to turn toward its warmth, to seek safety in its embrace, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it too held a cost he wasn't ready to pay. "Why not join us instead?" The basketball star sneered, his grin widening as shadows coalesced into violent spikes around Tom, each forked edge seeming to thirst for his skin. "There's power in surrender." "Power?" Tom spat, defiantly glaring into the empty eyes peering back at him. "Is that what you call it?" "No, I'd rather fight." The shadows thrashed violently, howling with fury, blurring the lines between real and unreal. It was like being on the brink of sanity, his mind spiraling as he felt their malice wrap around him, suffocating and cold. In his gut, a rumbling emerged, feeding on primal instinct. He would find a way out. Placing his hands against the wall of darkness, he pushed back, his fingers carving into its surface as he fought for liberation. "Leave me be!" he screamed, and to his surprise, cracks began to splinter the very shadowy wall he was pressed against. Light seeped through like threads of hope, expanding and illuminating his surroundings, revealing contorted faces beneath the shadows. Their expressions twisted into fear of losing their grip on him. "We will not let you leave!" they shrieked, stretching their limbs outward, attempting to pull him back, their claws grazing his skin, leaving dark lines of dread. Just then, a burst of light flared before him, resonating with his intent to escape. It felt almost sentient, guiding him towards something deeper. Perhaps clues lay within that radiant force, clues to dismantle the horrors that had consumed them all. And then, as quick as a breath, the shadows hesitated, the threat of their wrath suddenly eclipsed by the light. "Find us," a whisper coiled through the chaos, a chilling echo that ignited a primal instinct in Tom. The truth lies beneath. Was there truly a way to save himself and the tortured souls that had come before him, or was he merely digging his grave deeper with each passing moment? A new game had begun, one that tugged the thread of fate tighter around their necks, and the revelation of that truth lay hidden in darkness. Would he have the courage to seek it out? The light pulsed around Tom, a beacon nudging him forward. Each flicker seemed to challenge the encroaching shadows, daring them to press on. But the laughter, the malice, those remained relentless, echoing like a death knell in his ears. "Face the darkness!" The distorted image of his friend shouted, its voice rising above the chaos. Yet along with his shout, a part of Tom felt hollow. Was he really willing to confront what lay hidden in the shadows? The price of such a choice seemed steep. In an instant, the shadows lunged again, absorbing all light, stealing breath. Tom's chest tightened painfully, memories of the others who had lost themselves to this nightmare flooding his mind. Whispers of warning coiled around him like smoke. It was like drowning, each gasp for air replaced with despair. He could not let the darkness win. He clenched his fists, his drive igniting into a blaze. "I will not submit," he yelled, forcing his gaze to the deepest part of the light. The warmth settled over him, empowering, wrapping around his fingers like an ancient promise. The light swelled, fueled by his determination, and suddenly, the darkness wavered. "Pathetic!" screeched one of the shadows, hatched fangs glistening with hunger. "You think you can fight what you truly are?" Tom felt a shudder run through him. What was he? That flickering energy, it felt ancient and primal, as if it belonged to the very fabric of his being. Was it possible that he could harness its power against them? He took a step forward, his foot breaking a thread of darkness at his feet. "Open your eyes," the voice boomed. "We are all that you have lost." The shadows warped and twisted, forming grotesque images of every regret and failure, faces of friends, family, moments of weakness. An icy chill shot through Tom, but he refused to falter, biting down on the pain, shoving it aside. He would not be a pawn to their cruelty. His heart raced, a primal drum against the unbearable noise. He had to act. "I will find the truth," Tom declared, his voice steady with newfound fervor. The ground beneath him trembled in agreement, vibrating with his will. The shadows hissed in disbelief, their forms splintering. The light surged again, brighter this time, cutting through the fabric of despair like a knife. He could almost picture a path, threads weaving into a tapestry of hope laid bare before him. The spiraling darkness began to unravel, revealing hidden glimpses of what lay beyond a door, perhaps, leading him into something much larger than himself. "Tom, don't. You do not know what awaits," they screeched, stretching their limbs, trying to pull him back into their fold. But the glimmer only intensified, matching the beat of his heart, echoing the truth he was ready to embrace. With every surge, he saw more and more the faces of the lost, begging for release. He took a deep breath, steeling himself against the fear coiling in his belly. Then, he rushed forward, propelled by the light, the shadows clawing and tearing at him. A barrage of memories struck him, memories not his own, cries of another realm. Realizations sliced through his disbelief like lightning. "That's it," he thought, breathless. "I have to unravel it." He broke through the veil of shadow, bursting into a world lit in brilliant brilliance. The faces of those trapped before him surrounded him, flickering like beacons, searching for salvation. Silence wrapped around them, an eternity of torment woven into chaos. "Tom," the brethren whispered in unison, "you found us." Then the ground shook violently beneath him, and a roar echoed from the abyss below. "What have you awakened?" A sinister voice howled, resonating like thunder through the realm. Tom's breath caught. The judgment of the shadows had begun. What would he unleash by turning away from that darkness? Every heartbeat felt weighted with dread. Would he have the strength for what lay beneath? His next steps would either save them all or doom them forever. Did he dare to find out? The ground trembled violently, each shake sending ripples of dread through Tom's spine. He felt the echo of an ancient voice wrap around him, seeping into his bones. "You shouldn't have come here." The shadows flickered and danced with malignant glee, drawing nearer to him, their forms writhing with impatience, eager to consume. "Let them go," he shouted, almost drowning in the sudden surge of despair. The faces around him, twisted in agony, seemed to reach out, fingers grasping for something just out of reach. The murky air thickened, a palpable weight pushing down on him, constricting his breath. "I was hoping," he whispered, hardly recognizing his own voice, "I could save you," but the shadows just laughed. It was a chorus of unholy cacophony, echoing through the straining reality. Memories clawed at him, moments he had held dear now twisted with guilt and shame, playing over and over like a broken record. Images of lost love, betrayal, and regret spiraled, each stinging sharper than the last. The light trembled, flickering in protest against the overwhelming darkness. Then, without warning, a figure began forming within the shadows, towering and grotesque. The face, if it could even be called that, shifted and pulsated, a reflection of everything Tom feared he could become. "What do you want, Tom?" it asked, its voice dripping with malice. "To be a hero? You have no power here." "No!" he shouted, defiance burning bright within him. He felt the light quaking within him, a raw force begging to be unleashed. "You don't own me." With every ounce of his resolve, Tom reached deep, not just to the light outside but to the primal glow within. For a heart-stopping moment, the shadows recoiled, their twisted faces reflecting confusion. He took a step forward, channeling his pain into strength. "I'll face this head-on," he swore, "even if it kills me." The grotesque figure laughed, its laugh like splintered glass. "Then let it be so." As Tom embraced the swirling light, it surged from him in beautiful, blinding force. Tendrils of brightness lashed out, striking against the shadows and sparking a wave of fury that resonated within him. Faces around him transformed, momentarily glowing with hope. He saw a spark light within their gaze, a glimmer of recognition. But the shadows retaliated, their shrieks reaching deafening heights as they hurled darkness toward him, waves of despair and fury crashing over his body, dragging him down, seeking to extinguish the light he had found. He fought with everything he had, heart racing, muscles straining against the oppressive pull. "Remember who you are." The figures cried out from the edge of the light, their voices mingling with the darkness, becoming a haunting echo. "Honor us." Tom felt his grip slipping, panic clawing at his throat as tendrils of shadow wrapped around him like chains. Was he losing to this nightmare? Had he awakened something far worse than he could face? The ground roared beneath him, and from the depths, dark hands clawed upward, dragging him deeper into the void. His vision blurred, terror flooding his mind. "I am not afraid," he roared, but it felt like a whim, lost against the storm threatening to swallow him whole. Then, as quickly as it began, a flash of clarity pierced through the chaos. An image, not just of hope, it was a memory, a whisper of laughter holding him near. He could feel it, vibrant and alive. A spark ignited, shifting the very fabric of the darkness. "Wake up." The command stung his heart, urging him to fight back, to remember who he truly was. Before he could process what was happening, sharp teeth of darkness lunged for him, and the world collapsed in a scream of shadows as he plummeted into the unseen depths. What awaited him there, beneath the veil of despair, was unknown, but the shadows had promised a reckoning, and fate loomed ominously close. Would the light remain? Or would he succumb? The darkness closed around Tom like a thick fog, a suffocating embrace filled with sinister whispers. He plummeted through shadows, heart racing, feeling every heartbeat reverberate with dread. Then, in that abyss of despair, something flickered within him, the light. It pulsed, a heartbeat syncopating with his own, a quiet promise that he was not yet lost. "Focus," he thought, and the word tethered him to reality. With every ounce of will, he summoned the light, igniting his spirit as memories rushed back, faces, laughter, love intertwined with hope. He was fighting for them. For the lost. Tom felt the shadows recoil, their laughter fading, drowned out by the brilliance erupting within him. The shadows twisted, frantic to escape the growing luminance, but he was in control now, fueled by resolve. "You will not take me," he shouted, his voice solidifying into a powerful hammer striking the dark stone surrounding him. The dark hands clawing at him shrunk back, howling their disapproval. The visions of the lost coalesced around him, friends he had laughed with, students he had watched over. Their energy surged into him, weaving through his heart, igniting the flickering flame into blinding light. "We remember you." They chorused, each voice a distinct note harmonizing in the symphony of hope. "We are here with you." As the tendrils of shadow swirled in fury, he harnessed the force compounding within him. With a searing cry, he thrust his arms forward, wielding the light against the dark. The burst was like a sonic boom. It clashed with the encroaching shadows, exploding in magnificent spirals that sent fragments scattering, unraveling the very essence of the darkness, cracking the prison they had made for him. One by one, the faces of the lost materialized, smiling, unyielding. Each one pulled closer, emerging from the depths. The cheerleader, with her pleading eyes, stood in front, radiant warmth shimmering through her form. "Thank you," she cried, her voice breaking through the chaos like sunlight breaking dawn. "Together, we will break the curse. Together." The others echoed, forming a chain of light, pressing against the void with fierce determination. Tom realized in that moment that he was not alone. He was the keystone holding their memories, their spirits, fighting back against the persistent dread. He turned his gaze to the figure looming before him, the grotesque shadow that had once seemed inevitable. "You will not control us," he roared, stretching himself further, reaching for that core of warmth now strong enough to dissolve the darkness. The figure twisted in anguish as the light clashed against its form, revealing glimpses of anguish, lost lives, unanswered prayers trapped, entangled in endless shadows. "No. You cannot," it shrieked, desperation echoing through Tom's chest. But Tom was relentless now. Each flicker of the light pushed back the nightmare, revealing fractures in the void where hope had been stifled. He felt the weight of their fears crawling from him as he unleashed a final surge of brightness. "You are all free," he shouted, his voice ringing louder than the shadows' cries. In an explosion of color and sound, the shadows imploded, shrieking as the light enveloped them, bursting them into fragments, like shards of glass melting away in the sun. With each loss, he felt something inside him shift, a liberation he desperately craved. The shadows dissolved into the ether, leaving only the faces of those once lost, now free, joy radiating back into the world. The gym, the darkness, it started to flicker, to break. The light carried them, floating upward, a gentle ascent towards the cerulean sky, breaking through the shadows, offering bright azure and warm golden hues. Tom inhaled deeply, feeling a rush of fresh air fill his lungs. It was over. The curse had broken, and with it, the chains that held so many were shattered. They chirped, laughter spilling out, pulsating with a melody of hope that echoed through the echoes of the school. "Thank you, Tom," the cheerleader said, now glowing brightly. "You did it. You set us all free." With a bittersweet smile, Tom felt a weight lift. He had helped, they were with him, always. As he stepped forward, the darkness faded to reveal the school's vibrant colors, untouched by shadows, inspired memories of sunlight and laughter. It wasn't just about surviving together, they triumphed over fear. "Now go," the cheerleader said gently, drifting amidst the others, vibrant and alive, a tapestry of renewed hope. "You have your life ahead. Go live it fully." Tom nodded, heart swelling, overwhelmed by peace washing over the once haunted halls. Each stride away felt like life reclaiming its rightful space. A journey had come to an end, but a new one awaited him, filled with laughter, hope, and brighter days. And with one final glance back, he whispered, "I remember you." As he walked through the sun-drenched halls, the laughter of friends intertwined with the past, he knew the shadows would never return. The echoes of the school now rang true, the heartbeats of life hammering together, undying and forever whole. Now, dear viewers, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will ignite your imagination. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more horror fans just like you. Your support truly matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and experience the thrill. Your engagement builds this community, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep this adventure going together.